Here's my latest find, and this is something new for me. It is a remote control TV. Not only that, but according to their ad, it's the world's first portable wireless remote control TV. Now notice they have some conditionals on there. Portable, so I think there were earlier console wireless remote control TVs, probably the Zenith Flashmatic. And they say wireless, so I assume there were some wired remote control portable TVs. In fact, I've certainly seen some aftermarket add-on kits. In fact, I've got one of them from Zenith where you could retrofit your TV to use a wired remote. That's the Lazy Bone system I'm referring to. So I found this on eBay, and it was a local pickup. So it was the trifecta, I guess you could say. In very good condition, local pickup, and cheap, or reasonably priced anyways. Just one other bidder. I got it for about 25 bucks. Then a $5 local pickup fee. This is from an outfit called I Sold It on eBay. There used to be a lot more of these shops where you could just bring your stuff and drop it off and they would sell it for you and take a commission. So that's what this was. It was in a strip mall and they had all kinds of interesting things piled up they were selling on eBay. Now, I was lucky enough to get the remote control with it. However, few issues. One, I'm not sure this is the original one with this set. It does not match the ad, which shows an earlier type. Now, perhaps they made this for a while and there were several revisions, and this is just a later type of remote, and it is the original to this TV. I'm not sure, but the other issue is that one of the tuning forks is missing. So this is ultrasonic. You push down a button, it trips a spring-loaded hammer inside, it strikes a tuning fork, puts out an ultrasonic pulse, and it's picked up here. There's a receiver inside, and it would figure out which of the two buttons you pushed because they're different frequencies, and it would do the action. So I believe the way this one works is we've got channel. That one's easy enough to understand. Every time you hit the button, it advances a channel. And I think if you do it manually, you push this. And every time you push this, it either changes the channel one position, or perhaps if you hold it in, it'll keep rotating. I really hope the motor is good, because I think if it's bad, you can't change channels. I think this is just fine-tuning. So there's no other way to change it. Now we do have some controls here. Pull on volume. Weird action, but it might be okay. It's a little hung up or worn out. And vertical and contrast. So at least you can turn it on and change the volume with these controls. Curious, there's no horizontal hold or brightness, just contrast. Got to be a horizontal hold somewhere on the back. Probably. Well, this does use AFC, so generally the set's working fairly well. It locks in pretty solidly. You don't have to mess with it. And brightness, I guess you just set it to an acceptable level and you don't worry about it anymore. I don't know. So the other button, off on volume, that one I'm not so sure about. Because it's just one button. How can it do all those things? I did look briefly at the service info. I think that's right for this model. I haven't found a model number on it yet. I just matched the photos up. And I think I identified it. Oh, actually, what I did is I found an ad online. And there was a model number in the ad, and then I looked that up, the service info for that. And they say the volume has 4 positions. So perhaps click once to turn it on, and then it's maybe the lowest volume level. Then you click it to go to the next volume level, next, and then one more time, and it turns it off. Something like that, which seems a little annoying because that means you have to blast the volume right before you turn the TV off. Either that or it comes on at the loudest volume, and you click it to turn the volume down, And if you want the volume back up, you got to go through the cycle, turn the set off, and then back on to get the louder volume. So it doesn't seem terribly convenient, but hey, it was a new thing, wireless remote. So I'll be on the lookout for a replacement, assuming I can even get the set to work, to get the tuning fork. Now it happens that the screen is also fallen out of the end, so you can see what's inside. So that rod there, that's the tuning fork. So you put this. I'm not sure that it's all intact inside as well, because this is kind of loose. And there's one missing. Now, I might be lucky in that I do have some Zenith Space Command ultrasonic remotes. And one, these rods might be the right frequency, and I'll just use it as is for testing. And two, if they're the right size, I could maybe transplant one from this to the other. What I'll do is try to get this set working first, and then hook up a scope or something to the ultrasonic receiver, and put it on a scope and see if I can figure out what frequencies these tuning forks are putting out. So as to the rest of the set, just notice it's dented in a little bit here. But overall, it's in really fine condition. This is plastic up front. Of course, they had put some tape on it because the remote was in an envelope taped to the top, so I got to clean this residue off. Back is brown painted metal. Looks to be in pretty darn good shape. Really no chips or rust or dents or anything. Now on this side, I'm not sure what this is. There's not one on the other side. Possibly the speaker, but there aren't any holes in this. It's a solid piece of stamped out brass, I think, so I'm not sure. Oh, okay, maybe this pops off when there's adjustments inside for brightness and whatever, but it doesn't seem to very easily come off, so I'll just leave that alone until I get the back off the set. This is an all-tube set. Oh, that must be the motor right there. At least for the TV part. The ultrasonic remote receiver, the early versions were all tube, later versions were PNP germanium transistors. So let's see what's in here. Oh, there's a horizontal lock. Smashed and bent over inside the hole. Delightful. And I noticed this, that you can turn this off and on. So perhaps when it's on, if this is the tube version, the tubes for the receiver must be lit up. Otherwise you couldn't turn this on with the remote control. So it's probably what this is for. And there's the brightness. So it's probably a similar shaft over here for the horizontal, and somehow it just got jammed up inside. Admiral mark of quality throughout the world. And that's about it. No model number or a year or anything. Perhaps it's hidden down there. Reset. Okay, this is new enough that it's got a circuit breaker on it. And 200 watts, 170 volts, 60 cycle AC only. Power. It actually comes with a power cord. But not the original. It's a cheater cord, and it looks pretty mangled, so that got messed with. Antenna input, looks like one of the screws fell off, maybe like that. VHF only. This, I have no idea what this is for. Seems very loose. It's a neat hole, so it's probably original to the set. You can push it in and you can turn it. Alright, so I want to get this back off, see if I can figure out a model number, check out the condition inside, see if the picture tube's any good. Should be 110 degree short neck CRT, just like the smaller predictors use. 17CWP4. Don't have any spares. I don't know that a predictor tube would work without some modifications. I do have one predictor-like CRT that's has a 6.3 volt filament. It's probably a series strung set, and that CRT might work in this. I bought it a few years ago from VDC, back when they still had some CRTs in stock. with the thought that I would use it in a predictive. But anyways, if it is bad, that's my only thought of anything I have on hand that might work in this set. But let's hope that the original in here is still good. Something else I wouldn't mind doing is, if I can turn this around to better light, the screen has got some stains kind of running down here. Maybe from a smoker or something, I don't know. It'd be nice to clean that off and top up a bit. Alright, so first thing I'll do is, I guess, tip this face down, put a towel under it or something for cushioning, and get this back off. It turns out there aren't any screws along the bottom of the back, so I was able to take it off with the set upright. Unfortunately, the one up here is broken off. Looks like the plastic sheared off inside the cabinet. Well, at least I think it's loose now. Wasn't sure about this. I don't know if I gotta take this off or not. Seems like, yeah, I do. I think that's what's holding this thing on. So I looked in the service info again, and what this is for setting up the channels for the remote control. You can push this in, and it will engage, and you can go left and right. I think it's to set the center point on one of the channels, and then when you use the remote, it will advance the remote, or the channel shaft by a number of degrees, and it'll go from channel to channel, and as long as that centering is right for each channel, I guess you're okay. But I don't know how to get this thing off. I don't want to break anything. Well, it was easier than I realized. I just had to manipulate the shaft a little bit, and this will actually fit through the hole in the back of the case. So here it is, and this is the all-tube ultrasonic receiver version. So that is what this is. High voltage box up top. Main board here, and yeah, this does use circuit boards. I presume this is the horizontal sweep board. There's a horizontal output tube and damper up here. Some mic caps. One. There are two rectifiers. Okay, this is also the power supply. Transformerless series wired set, voltage doubler off the AC line for the power supply. Here's that mangled horizontal lock. I think I'll just heat this up, pull this off, and replace the whole thing with a piece of plastic tubing. So we got a mix of some bumblebee caps, some of these ceramic tubular looking things, which are basically paper caps inside. Don't see any catastrophic blowouts anywhere. Also some of these plastic guys. We got one that's vertically mounted. Those are a pain. Another one here and here. A pain because if you wanted to, you could clip out the parts from the top and use pigtails and mount new caps on top, except these, because both leads are right down close to the board. I've never worked on an Admiral sets with PCBs inside, so, and printed circuit boards, that is, so I don't know how these are to get out. In other words, if I take all these out, will this board lift right out, or are there a bunch of wires underneath? We shall see. Alright, so here is the motor on the channel clunker. Now, they clearly say in the service info that if you turn this to the off position, you can tune channels manually. So somehow that mechanism, that wheel up front, that disc must somehow change channels. Maybe it's just continuous tuning. Maybe I just needed to keep turning and turning and turning, and eventually it would change channels. Some loose screws here. I can take care of that. One built-in antenna, just one side of the rabbit ear. I guess that was good enough for strong signal areas. Pretty sizable high voltage box, especially considering the horizontal output tube and damper are over here, so flybacks only should be occupying part of this. I guess over here, and then the rectifier. Oh, that doesn't really reveal much, does it? This must pop. Oh yeah, okay, I can see the screws missing. I'm sure this pops open like so. Yeah. Pretty sizable flyback. These late 50s sets can produce pretty darn bright pictures, though. Some of these aluminized 110 degree deflection CRTs, they run on pretty high voltage. You can produce a really bright picture, so that might account for the beefy flyback. So of course I'll hope that is good. I have no idea if these sets are common, if they're rare. I've never seen one before, but I've never really sought one out either, so I have no idea what replacement parts might be like to track down, like something like this. All I do know is that I looked on listing history on eBay, and several Sonar Admiral remote controls have sold, and one in particular I believe was the early style, and it sold for around 20 bucks. And I would certainly be willing to drop 20 for one that was intact and in good condition to complete this set. Alright, so next up I'm going to take some reference photos and get out the picture tube tester. Don't see a year anywhere, just the serial number, and no model number either. Hang on. Let's see, well, it's run 10. Don't think there's a chassis. The chassis numbers would be like 15 and then a letter. That's 1530. Oh, okay. Oh, wait. That's a B probably. It's probably a 15B3 chassis. Okay. Alright, so here I do have the service info for the 15B3. I think the model number in the ad was this PS17F22. There are some model names. But that would make sense because I've got the B3 chassis, so I guess I've got either one of these two. Not sure what the difference is. Maybe just the color of the cabinet. So here's the schematic for the remote control and receiver. Microphone, 12AX7, 6AV6, 6U8, and then 6BJ8 to control the relays, motors, and so on. Here's the whole set. And here's the remotes. So I guess one version just has one knob, but I clearly have this. And see how this style looks a bit different? It's a more rounded remote, whereas mine's very rectangular and the buttons are rounded. So that's why I don't think I have the correct remote with mine. Okay, here goes. It's a good sign. Filament is lighting up. Oh, and if I didn't already mention, the seller said that it didn't work. No elaboration on that, it just didn't work. Good, don't appear to be any shorts. G1's dropping a bit, but still in a good range. And then cut off control. Do have good emissions though. Very responsive with the cutoff, so it's all a good sign. Drop the bias down or a notch. Now I got cut off. Alright, this will work fine. Except for that. Let it run for a while, see what happens. I mean, we're just right at the fringe, and it's slowly creeping into the bad. This might just be a very mild short. CR70 has a very sensitive shorts test. And life test. Rock solid, so. Got fantastic emissions, cutoff. A little iffy, but I don't want to mess with this. I'm not going to try to use the remove shorts function. Not unless that was hard over to the far left. I don't want to risk damaging this very hard to replace CRT. I've had the CRT running for about 15 minutes now, and although the needle will flutter occasionally, it's been staying on the good side when I'm testing for G1 shorts, so I'm not going to worry about it. Now, as for this cover on the side of the cabinet, well, on the other side, it's definitely not the speaker. What there is a black disc that's slightly magnetic. So what I think that is for is to correct for geometry distortions or maybe horizontal linearity. Similar to the Predictas, but on those, there's a magnetic bar off to the side of the yoke that you can manipulate. Maybe in this set they just didn't have the room to do something like that, or they found that it worked better to put the magnet over on the side of the cabinet. I'm not sure. Now back to the remote control action. I read up a little bit more on that and studied the circuitry here. So the volume, there are 3 preset levels. So I don't know that it necessarily goes from no volume to loudest. It's just 3 levels, and there are adjustments you can make in here to set those levels. We got 3 relays. We got one down here, got one here, and one over here. So one of them might be power, one for volume, one for channel. I'm thinking this is the channel. In addition to being a big relay, there is a cam here, or a tooth gear, I'm not exactly sure what you call these things. And when this goes up and down, it's a little sticky. It turns that, and on the other side of that is an arm, and there are contacts. And that will work its way around. So in other words, it's a rotary switch. So curious to see if that will all actually work. So this seems a little iffy. Spring looks like it's been stretched a bit on the back. Maybe somebody was trying to correct for a problem, I don't know. Imagine that would not be the easiest thing to find a replacement for these days, but you never know. It is a Potter and Brumsfeld, so maybe it's not that unusual after all. Although it does have an Admiral part number, so there may have been a custom part made for just then. I think the main issue is just the spring. It doesn't want to spring back up all the way. And it's got a little bit of side-to-side motion too. Alright, so I took a bunch of reference photos. I'm going to post the stuff online, ask around other collectors, see what their opinions are about these sets, and any tips on their servicing or operation. In the meantime, that is going to be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this look at the world's first wireless remote controlled portable TV from 1959.